Hello, this is Paul Ricci. I'm here with Allegheny Independent Media. Um, my guest today is Nick Tommarello, who's a graduate student at Point Park College. And yes, he's agreed to talk to me about the events this week in Pittsburgh for Newsapalooza, run by the Center for Media Innovation. And Okay, and well, I'm just going to let you say I'll just tell Nick tell us about your lineup.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me on. We're really excited about Newsapalooza. Really, I think the main idea and reason why we wanted to have a celebration of local news is that we want to bring more citizens into the news-making process. I think we're seeing in journalism, right, there are a lot of criticisms, and some of them can be fair of how journalists do their work. I think, most of the criticism is focused on national media, corporatized media, and we're really trying to help reframe when people think of news or media and start focusing on local. So news that's happening in their neighborhoods and in their communities. So Newsapalooza that's happening on Friday, September 27th. It's going to be a day full of different discussions, keynote speakers, workshops. So starting right off at 9:30 in the morning, we do have CBS News's chief political campaign correspondent, Robert Costa. I'm pretty sure that that's his full title. So we're really excited for that. Our friends at KDKA connected us with him, and he's going to sort of provide that overall future of news, future of journalism vibe. And he'll also be addressing not only just members of the public that bought tickets to come into the show, but we're going to have college students, and then also we're pairing Newsapalooza with our high school media day. So we're going to have over 200, maybe 250 high school students there as well. And there will be opportunities to ask questions at all of our panels, which I think is going to be a great opportunity. And that's really why we're trying to focus on, okay, hey, how can you, as a citizen, as a neighbor, get involved in communicating with your local journalists? Then we also have a great discussion on politics that is going to be moderated by KDK political editor John Delano, talking about politics in Appalachia and in the Rust Belt and in Pennsylvania, right? We're a battleground state. We're very purple. We could flip either way. And so this state is very crucial to both political parties. And then we also have a sports focused conversation, right? This is Pittsburgh. We have three major sports teams, and I feel like we keep adding on a bunch of other ones. We have a professional soccer team now. I believe they're just adding on a women's league in the soccer team. We have a professional esports team. So really trying to answer the question of whether Pittsburgh is still a city of champions. And so I think if you're in Pittsburgh, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, maybe your answer is yes. But, looking back at how we've been doing, at least I think of maybe the Steelers and the Pirates, it's not been great, right? And I say that as a fan myself. And then, we have, gosh, a ton of other events that honestly I couldn't even list off, but we have Robbie Robinson from the Boston Globe who helped lead the Spotlight team that found and broke the news on the Catholic Church and the all of the abuse that was happening there. And Michael Keaton, who's actually a Pittsburgher, played him in the film. We tried to get Michael Keaton; he was busy, but still appreciate the response otherwise. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a full day. We're going all the way into the evening. I think we're wrapping up around 6:30, and starting around 5 o'clock, we're going to have a pitch competition, and that is going to be open to professional journalists. And then we're going to have a student section, so college journalists as well, and then members of the public. And we're going to give, I believe, $1,000 each. I'm not sure exactly what the breakdown is for them to help pursue their idea. So I believe we have 10 total pitches. And it's going to happen live on the PNC Theater stage where we're hosting all of our other events earlier in the day. And everyone that's in the audience, so members of the public, anyone that's attending physically in person that day, will get to vote after the pitches are done, and they actually get to decide who the money goes to. But we also do have some celebrity judges that are more serving as uh, constructive criticism for these ideas. So we have Sally Wiggin, who's iconic in Pittsburgh television here. And we also have Rick Seaback, who's huge in public television at QED, made a ton of local documentaries about Pittsburgh and about the area. And so they'll be providing critiques on the ideas and get to participate in that process. So I think for me, that's what I'm really excited for is the pitch competition in the evening and really having that like back and forth with members of the community.
Okay, well, it all sounds very interesting, like here, my media venture, I'll tell you, is, we were supported by a grant from the Leveler Foundation, and we're trying to create a progressive alternative to a lot of in rural areas here
Hmm.
in Pennsylvania. So, the vision I had for it was kind of a cross between Nate Silver's 538 and Democracy Now. So yes,
Got
I
you.
mean, my
Well,
background, yeah, go ahead.
Well, and right, I mean, philanthropy in media now is so crucial, and we actually are partnering with Press Forward. At the
Mhm.
Center for Media Innovation, we're going to be running Southwestern Pennsylvania's chapter of Press Forward, and we also have a whole discussion about philanthropy in media, right? Because, back in the day, most people in the news industry made money off of advertising, right? Especially newspapers, magazines. But now, when you have a shifting public that's accessing their media in various ways, it's hard to monetize that. So you're
Mhm.
seeing a lot of nonprofit organizations. We've launched one ourselves alongside Newsapalooza. It's called the Next Generation Newsroom. And really, our whole idea for that is, you have a lot of these jobs that want a year's experience, and they're also supposed to be entry level, but they expect you to have a year's experience of work. So we're really
Mhm.
trying to provide that gap from graduating college to getting your first job through this teaching newsroom. So our director who's running the newsroom, Kim Palmero, is working with a full-time journalist that they brought on as an apprentice. And they're working 40 hours a week. They're going to start publishing content here shortly. We're going to introduce them on the day of Newsapalooza. And then we have student interns that will be working on writing stories. And really the whole goal of it is that we're not
Mhm.
competing with the local media here because we have a partnership of around 30 or so media outlets within the region that we try to collaborate on, right? We always understand that there's going to be some competition, but at least in our goal with the Next Generation Newsroom is that we want to cover the stories that aren't being told and help fill the gaps in reporting. So, I mean, I'm
Certainly.
sure, right? Like grant money is huge. Our director at the CMI, Andy Conti, that's pretty much his entire job now is applying for grant money and searching for funding for all of our initiatives. So I'm sure you definitely relate
Okay.
to that.
Yes, I definitely do. So, yeah, that could even be a problem with established media outlets and newspapers. Obviously, sometimes if they accept advertising, I mean, there will be pressure, there will be pressure from advertisers not to run stories that make their advertisers look bad.
True.
So
True.
even if it's correct.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and another thing too, right? So we have a lot of corporate sponsors that are helping to sponsor the newsroom, but also Newsapalooza as well. And they went into it knowing that, hey, you sponsoring us is a wonderful thing, but also it's not going to, hinder any potential reporting that we're doing. And I think, that's really where a lot of that philanthropy is coming from. A lot of these big organizations, especially here, we're in downtown Pittsburgh, there are a lot of them and so, we're really pleased, and I think it's great to acknowledge that they're doing that, knowing that hey, we're going to focus on reporting our news and reporting the stories that aren't being told, and without any critique or response, right?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly I try to stay away from AI. I guess maybe some of the video editing software I use, like to create captions, sometimes, that can be a problem when they get what the person says wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, in AI, I think, right? AI is an interesting topic, especially in journalism. We've been talking about it here at the center, but also at our university. I don't think we have any, from my knowledge, any strict response to artificial intelligence here at the university. But at least at the center, how we've been talking about it is that if it's utilized as a tool, right, you're organizing data, organizing research information. I think it can be helpful there. But when you're writing a story or telling a story, that's really the human aspect of, I think, journalism is telling and crafting the story. So that should be really coming from you as an individual. And it's crazy that we have to say this, but coming from you as a human. Um,
Yeah.
but with the advancements now, and it's just getting better day after day after day. And then if you look at it from misinformation or disinformation perspective, uh AI, it's definitely a concern, and especially with videos and dubbing, and it's you can have the president say anything now, right? With AI advancements. And I think you see some stuff on social media. Oh, it looks a bit off. This person doesn't have five fingers. Like, it's not fully there yet, but I definitely think that we're not far
Okay.
away from it.
Yes. Okay. So I mean, one of my area of expertise before I got into journalism was like in statistics. So, like, do you have any workshops on data journalism?
So in Newsapalooza, not specifically. We've talked about that just here at the center and at the university. And actually, through our media partnership, we do workshops similar to that, and we'll like to bring them into the center and open it up to students. I think, for this, because this is our first Newsapalooza and it's the inaugural one, we're really trying to have and pare down what we're talking about, to focus on how can the public get involved specifically with local news or understand how a story is crafted or made. And I think as we get into the future, we hope to do more, reporting or journalism focused workshops and activities too. But also with our media partnership, we have what's called the Pittsburgh Downtown Media Hub. And so that's actually a physical space. It's the 10th floor of the Benedum Trees building. We got support from the Benter Foundation to be on that floor. And it's I like to say it's like a we work for local news. So we have five media outlets that have their offices on this 10th floor of the space. And Tanner, who's my coworker who runs the media hub, he puts together different workshops. And he's been doing breakfast with the newsmaker. So they'll bring someone in the morning, invite journalists to have breakfast with them, and then they sort of conduct a conversation and an interview. So we do a lot here at the center. I like to say we have this physical space on campus that's open to students where we have our three studios. We have a TV studio, a podcast studio, and a photo studio, but so many projects that live beyond the walls of the CMI and focused on citizen journalism and citizen reporting. We actually have an academy, a certificate program that you can take to really learn the basics of journalism.
Mhm.
And I think we're trying to democratize it a little bit, right? Because when you really think about it, you don't need to go to school to be a journalist. Unless if you're specializing in something, if you want to get into television or maybe learn how to work different camera equipment,
Yeah.
production, like that makes sense. But learning how to write, how to research, that's something that really anyone can do. And we're already seeing it. So, right, you have these Facebook groups that are run by community members. And that can be a great thing, right? Because it gets people talking, but sometimes it can get a little bit dramatic in those Facebook groups. So having these citizen journalists that run through our program, I believe the next cohort is going to start next year in January, and you can learn more about that at pointpark.edu
Okay.
website. So it's very
All
exciting. I think it's a really cool opportunity for people to get involved and to learn more about, how to write and how to create videos and social media content.
Okay. Well, certainly, I mean, my background, like I said, was in statistics and research. So yes, you do have to be very explicit about your sources, and you
Right.
have to watch your P's and Q's and all
Yeah.
that. So I remember, you were talking about the movie Spotlight. Yes, I mean that ended up with them all getting Pulitzers.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh yeah.
remember I remember at the same time there was a movie that came out with Robert Redford called Truth. It
Right.
was
Yeah, that
about
was
this about the 60 Minutes 2 story
correct.
about George Bush in the draft and
Mm-hmm. There's
and
something
then
that, right, the media and like entertainment media really loves to dramatize the journalism field, and like it's really cool whenever you learn about it from an outsider's perspective. I mean, I love all of those movies. The Post, right,
yeah.
was really
I mean,
great.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the ending was very different for In Truth. They all
Yeah.
get fired, and
Yeah, true.
Spotlight, they
Not a
don't get,
happy ending.
I mean, it was about yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that the overall premise of this, what they reported was true, might have been true, about George Bush dodging the draft to skip Vietnam.
Mm,
That, I mean, that may or may not have been true.
mm,
So, I mean, the overall premise of the story, they focus on that one document that may have been forged, and so it's all. So, I mean, sometimes, yes, journalism, if you're going after the powers that be, it can be like a minefield.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about the type, like I said, I do data journalism on my website, as well as doing interviews and I filmed like a book festival in the Alleghenies on Saturday. So yes, I am feeling a little under the weather, and like I said before, and I'm going to try to make it to the event. But is this going to be an annual event?
Yeah, I think that that's the idea. We're gonna see how this goes. I have to put it to all of my coworkers and our small team here at the CMI. We've really been battening down the hatches this entire year. Over the summer, we've been working and preparing for it. And yeah, I think that's really the goal, is to have an annual Newsapalooza focusing on local news and storytelling in southwestern Pennsylvania. And hopefully really get more people involved. That's really the goal.
Okay, and maybe next year you can invite Steve Kornacki and Nate Silver.
Yeah, right. Get them like head to head data and analysis. We can have like some TVs behind them or touch screens, whatever Steve Kornacki does. That would be fun. Yeah,
Yes,
that would be really cool.
yeah, I've been criticized for like showing, say, scatter plots or doing correlation, doing maybe more advanced statistics than what Steve
Sure.
Kornacki does. And, I've been criticized for, you know, trying, I'll try to explain it in plain English as possible, like one story I would love to pitch it, to some of the news outlets, something that's been relatively ignored here in Cambria County, where
Hmm,
Johnstown is. African American life expectancy is much lower than it is for African Americans nationwide. It's about
hmm.
63 years.
Oh wow.
So, I think this is a story. I even tried talking to One Hood Media and see if they would be interested in a story like this. And, I haven't heard back from them. Do you know if
Yeah.
do you know if they will be there for the,
Yes, I actually do think one of our celebrity judges for the pitch, we had some shake up there. So I think someone ended up couldn't do it. And then I think they're trying to find someone else to fill that spot. So someone from One Hood definitely should be there. Um,
Okay, well,
yeah.
that's good. And well, I mean, like I said, I mean, I know you told me before I started recording, it won't be the event won't be live streamed, but it will be available on YouTube after the fact.
Yes, yes. So we're not exactly sure the timeline for when we're going to start putting those out, but we are video recording all of our sessions. And yeah, we intend to put them on YouTube. And then I think we're also going to do an audio version for a podcast feed. We do have students that are working with us on that. And so, trying to respect their schedules as well when they're putting that content together. So definitely before the end of the year, I would say we should have those out.
Okay. And well, okay, I guess I'm just trying to think. Um, yeah, so certainly, I mean, that's why try, I contributed as much as I could to Newsapalooza and, trying to get more of a rural area, of
Yeah.
course.
And at least,
Mhm.
me personally, I grew up in Clarion County, which
You
is very
did?
rural. I have a lot of family that lives in Pittsburgh, and I also went to Point Park in my undergrad. But yeah, I mean, there are so many stories that aren't being told in rural areas. But also, at least in the towns that I grew up in, we still have a weekly newspaper, and I think that that's because a lot of the major media that may be in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County doesn't stretch as far. So where you hear a lot of news deserts happening, newspapers shuttering, closing. Actually, in the communities that I grew up in, they still have a handful of papers that are really telling their community stories, and that's so important too. And I'm glad that that's available there because I know that without it, quite literally, no one would know what's going on news-wise, local government, school boards, right? Those are so important.
But one of the challenges is say like no one person can cover everything that's going on.
Right,
So
exactly. Well, and yeah, you have a small staff. So yeah, in one of the towns that I lived in, New Bethlehem, they have the Leader Vindicator, and that's a weekly paper. I'm not sure what their staff size is, but I'll say I will see their editor all the time at events growing up. So definitely a small team. And but it's great that they're doing that. And even though I currently don't live in New Bethlehem, I still I have a subscription to them. I think it's really important to really support that local news and local media.
okay. And all right. And so well, I guess that's all the questions I had for you today. So like I really hope I can make it to I'm feeling under the weather, so I
Yes.
really hope I can make it
Yeah, we do
to
too,
do
if you
the
can.
Palooza.
But also don't stress yourself out if you're not feeling good.
Okay. And and thank you for your time and looking forward to posting this on our website and well, you're welcome to check us out anytime.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and well, enjoy the rest of your day.